Hello everybody. Today I have a interesting camera for my YouTube channel for review and operation breakdown guide for my eBay listing. This camera I picked up at a local thrift store or charity shop for those of my friends who are watching in the UK and overseas for $50. With a bunch of extras. So this camera is not necessarily my cup of tea. However, it is good for a beginner or somebody who's trying to get into the hobby of film photography. This is the Pentax A3000 program film SLR. It was the first Pentax camera that was fully programmable and was one of the first Pentax SLRs that took AA batteries. Now this camera has no flaws to it at all. I have tested this with batteries, not film testing, but in my experience in selling and buying film cameras for a long time now, this seems to have no issues. I can certainly vouch for the operation of this camera. This is a K-mount camera. The K-mount series of lenses released by Pentax are some of the best glass in the world at the time. Like I said, this camera was produced in, or introduced rather, in 1984. So it's coming up to 40 years old in a couple of years. Excuse me, coming up to 50 years old in a couple of years. I had to think there. Anyhow, let's get down to the operation. So to access the batteries, there's the battery flap. Now these are notorious for getting very flimsy and breaking off. You can see that this one is operating as it should. Just be very careful when you're putting the batteries in, not to slam down the compartment, but to hold in this lever as you're pushing down and then gently guide it back, and that's your battery compartment. So that's where the batteries go. It's two AA batteries, as I mentioned. One of the first Pentax cameras to take AA batteries. Let's start with the top, which is sort of where your operation is going to begin. You have your mode dial. The lock feature is basically the off selection on a mode dial. Program is the main mode. Then you have a mode that says 60 with a flash. That means this is your flash sync speed, shutter speed. Film cameras of this time had a shutter plane or shutter curtain, or like this, kind of like this, where it would open, or if you had a vertically traveling shutter, it'd go like this across when the picture's taken. I'll show you that in a minute. But the 60th of a second is the fastest speed that the picture can be taken while the flash goes off, with the I guess you would call the shutter remaining open, so you don't have the black bars in the photo. Most of the time, if you took photographs with a flash attachment faster than 60th of a second, you'd see a black bar in the way, because the shutter is moving too fast for the flash to react to the photograph speed. So B for bulb mode. This is the mode where you hold the shutter down, hold the shutter button down. The shutter will remain open until you release your finger from the shutter button. And you can see here, there was a red light when I depress the shutter, and you can see the counter moving. So we know that the frame advance and the light both work. And then if you go the opposite way from the lock, you have the battery check, and the red light indicates that the battery is in good standing. In the center, you have your prism. The bars here and the contact here is for an electronic flash. For an example, I have one here. This one's not working, but you just slide this right onto the silver rails, and then you have your flash attachment. over on your left side, you have the rewind knob, your ASA or ISO or ISO selection for the speed. You have your lock for that right here. So this is the number that you will set depending on your number on the film. So if it says 400, you're going to align the 400 to the not the 400, but the red marking right here. So you're going to align the 400 number with the red line. That indicates to the computer chip in the camera that you're taking pictures with 400 ISO film. Coming to the front, you have your backlight here, which will upon programming will give you a stop and a half of exposure on here. That's how you select that. And then this is your self timer here. You pull it up for the sort of red marking to illuminate or show up. Then the self timer will illuminate. Beep. And then we count down. Okay. And then this is your lens. This is a K-mount lens. This comes with the camera as well. There's also a ProMaster 49mm filter that will also come with the lens. And be careful not to cross thread the filter onto the lens. To take the lens off, there's this button on the side here. We move that and we turn counterclockwise and then we take it off. I do want to touch on some condition priorities or issues. You can see that there's a piece of foam sticking down. Well, that's the mirror damper. And you can see that it's not staying down all the way. I've just tampered it down, but please be aware of that when it comes to you. It might need re-gluing or a new seal altogether. This keeps the mirror from scraping up against the metal portion of the throat of the camera. That's what this is called. These are your lens contacts for a more advanced lens. Of course, you can see that these lenses have some of the contacts here. You can see some lenses, I would gather, have more contacts on them, but just be aware that there are more lenses that you can purchase, K-mount lenses for this camera. Now, I cannot run down shutter speeds with you because this is not a manual camera. This is a fully automatic camera powered by AA batteries. If you do not have batteries for this, the camera will not operate. This is more for, like I said, a beginner who's just getting started. Of course, this is going to have different shutter speeds. So I'll cover it with my hand. You can see that the shutter is still open. Can go up to a very long exposure. Of course, the shooter has no input on the shutter speed. Okay, so that was like a very long 8-second exposure. If I shine it up to the light right here, it's very fast. So in demonstrating that, you can understand that the light meter is working and the computer chip in this camera is operating. Of course, I cannot test the accuracy of the meter because I did not film test it. I can only attest to the operation, which I'm doing in front of you now. This is the lens. So let's go through the speeds on the lens. Let's take the filter off. It's a little bit smudgy. I will clean everything up for you, the lucky buyer who gets this. Started bidding low on this, but I'm going to really change the aperture on this so you can see the blades. Moving quite fast. I do not detect any oil, any fungus, just a little dirt, which I will clean off for the winner of the auction. And to reassociate the lens, we're going to align the orange dot to the red marking on the lens. Oh, perhaps not. It may need to be reassociated to a different... hold on a minute. I'll get it eventually. Okay, here we are. Okay. All right, so I want to correct myself. This orange dot must be aligned with the pin right here, this pin, where my thumb is indicating. Okay. When it clicks in, you know you're ready to go. Okay, so the last thing that I want to point out is this little hole on the grip of the camera. And that is the shutter release. So, you know, those old 1800s silent movies where they're taking pictures and they have this little plunger looking thing. Well, that's where this goes. And that's it. That's everything for the Pentax A3000. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in my YouTube video, or shoot me a line on eBay, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. But this will be for sale on eBay. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.